all seen the cartoon of like one big fish, and the little fish around it can be eaten up by the big fish, but when they make the big fish together are bigger than the big fish. I believe that cartoon in my soul.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Why are unions good? Why are unions good? We know what a worker is. We know what a union is. We've talked a little bit about it, but why are they good? And I'm going to kick it back to Lee to answer this question because I think that she'll have a good answer for us in general, but also she has a really good personal story that we've talked about on the show already. But yeah, so Lee, why are unions good? Why should one do a union?
I've been asked a lot by my family. So I'm based in New York City right now, but I grew up in rural South Texas. And a lot of my family, just by virtue of like the culture and historic attitudes towards unions, have been pretty anti-union. And when I went off to college and learned more, it was a decision that I made. But this is a conversation I have at home all the time with my aunts, uncles, cousins, of like, let me break it down of like what this union does for me. So the reason I think unions are a good thing, there's like the theory-ish stuff of like the thing I believe in my like soul and my values. And then there's like the practical stuff that happens. The thing I believe in my soul and my values and is like, could be called like theory, is that like, I really believe that unions as an institution are this other thing besides like government, besides the institution of the family, besides the institution of education, that does good things and is able to take collective action around something that everybody has to do every day, which is work in order to live. And so what unions do is like bring together people and influence the way that society and politics happens. Like who gets what, when, where, and how, and under what conditions. Like that's what a union does. And like, that is why I think that like in theory, they're a good thing. And in practice, they also just do the work that a lot of other institutions believe they do or say they do that don't in fact do them, or do them in ways that don't actually benefit workers. So like universities are a really strong example of this because they often use the metaphor of a family, and they also use the metaphor of like they are just like places where you get an education. When one of the largest landowners in the borough of Manhattan is Columbia University and New York University. Like they are financial institutions. In addition, we have this running joke that New York University is a real estate company that also gives degrees. And it's like kind of a reality because they've eaten up so much property and played a significant part in gentrification of New York City. And so what a union does is kind of bring that to the fore and say, you're not our family. You're not like this beneficial force that, actually you are a disciplinarian. Actually, what you do is withdraw benefits is retaliation. And that is what a union does, is pushes up against that and uses the power of the collective to fight back against it. Like in a really practical way, like one of the things that so visualizes what a union does and why it's good is this like kind of cartoon. And it's like kind of childish, but we've all seen the cartoon of like one big fish and then like a gazillion little fish. And the little fish around it can be eaten up by the big fish, but when they make the big fish together are bigger than the big fish. Like I believe that cartoon in my soul. And it encapsulates like these like bigger ideas and practices that I've been talking about in a really concise way of like, together we're so much more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If there's I don't know of a political cartoon that is more true in more ways than the Big Fish cartoon. That's definitely a really good one. And just for the general thing of that's like mechanically how unions get the good things that they get. And so what are some of the things that y'all were able to win? How has the union been good for you personally?
Yeah, so the three biggest things that I think come up for me are wages, healthcare, and what would be called like social issues, or like what we call in UAWD bargaining for the common good, which is not just bargaining for yourself, but bargaining for everybody. And so in terms of wages, when the Graduate Student Organizing Committee started in 2015, their hourly wage was $15 an hour. And at the time, that was higher than the average minimum wage in New York City. But we at GSOC were the first private union to organize at a words are hard. First union to organize at a private university after a set of NLRB decisions. What that meant is that we knew that our wages set the floor. And so every contract after us, we are constantly pushing it up because, you know, NYU will like to say like, oh, it's just us here. Like, this is just our contract. But we know that Harvard is going to say, well, at NYU, they make this. Or Uptown at Columbia, they'll say at NYU, they make this. And so that's a really important bargaining chip. And so we've gone from $15 an hour in 2015 to $30 an hour by 2026. That's huge. In terms of healthcare, most of our unit is actually master's students. So they're paying like $60,000 a year to get a degree. And then they're required to have health insurance on top of that. A lot of people don't know that graduate students are not children. You know, they're full-grown adults. Often they don't qualify for their parents' health insurance. And so when you're in our unit, you get a 95% reimbursement on that healthcare premium, which is around $3,500. Lastly, for bargaining for the common good, we made NYU be a sanctuary campus and agree that cops on campus pose a health and safety risk to everyone on campus, especially workers. And this was huge for us. It's saying that, you know, ICE can't come on campus, cops can't come on campus. Like, you're a private institution, you can make that decision and you have not. Well, we're not going to work for you until you do too. And that was a huge win in our last contract and something that I believe really deeply in.
Yeah, that's great news. Being able to protect your members and students on campus. It's very important. Johnny, did you want to add anything to that? What would you say? What would you say if somebody asked you why are unions good?
Unions are good for the reasons that Elise stated, and as well, we've been talking about this for a while now. Upper management, CEOs, shareholders, they have no clue what's going on in the day-to-day in the workplace. If you ask them to come in to work and to fill in, they would probably do a very bad job and probably make it worse. So in that sense, you need the workers, the people who are there with the day-to-day, doing all the hard work. They need to have a voice in the workplace and how it functions, what the company looks like, because we know more than anyone else. We know. So having a union and us being a part of that is giving us that voice to say, hey, this is not okay. You're doing this. This does not work for the workplace. It doesn't work for the customer. It doesn't work for this. We're on the front lines. And you have that backing, that power, that voice to make those changes and to get them to listen to you. Without that, they could take suggestions. Like my company, we are non-union. Flight attendants have a very unique job. And as you all have seen throughout the pandemic, that we face some interesting working conditions. We faced a lot of workplace violence. And if you've been flying lately, there have been long delays or cancellations that do affect you directly. And flight attendants were saying, hey, these conditions are not okay for the passengers, are not okay for us as well. But without the power of a union and a contract backing us, it's just a suggestion to make those changes to benefit everyone. And so that's what's really important about a union, having one, why we need one, and what it does. And so, yeah, our AFA has won some big improvements for the airline industry, like no knives on the airplanes. That was AFA, no phones, so people could listen and hear instructions. And so those things are important. And so without them fighting for us, we'd have never gotten stuff like that in the workplace.
Yes, and Jeb asked, sent us a text message, saw where some Delta pilots had pickets up yesterday. Are they union? And if so, do they support the attendance organizing? That's an interest. Are the Delta pilots associated with the ALPA?
Yes, Delta pilots are a union. The only employees that are union at Delta are our pilots and our dispatch. We are 20% a union, which is unheard of. All the other airlines are like 80, 90%. And so our Delta pilots are definitely supporting our campaign for the first time. And we're also supporting their contract negotiations. And so this is what solidarity and unionizing, this is what this looks like in real time. The workers coming together, even from different departments, and saying, hey, we're going to support each other against this larger management entity that's both trying to work us to death. They used to pit the pilots and flight attendants against one another. Like, oh, you're going to take a piece of their pie if you unionize. And so now we started talking to each other and saying, hey, we're both on the same side here. There's enough pie for everyone. Our CEOs and shareholders are getting all of it. And we're getting the crumbs. Let's fight together and to make sure that we get our fair share. And now that we're doing that, we're usually on the picket lines with them. And so it's been great having that support and solidarity.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.